This comes from 7 Mile B. Shout out to him. He asked, which free agent or trade candidate do you feel the Pistons should target in the offseason? I don't know if you've gone too deep in the free agency stuff, but if you haven't, I can kind of give you a couple of guys I'm thinking off right off the rip.
Well, one I was hurt that will be a free agent again is Kelly Oubre. I really wanted Kelly Oubre. I think that's a very stealthy good signing. If the Pistons could get that, I thought that was a great sign for Philly, especially for that price. Um, I like him. I like him a lot. I don't really like a lot of the big free agent fish up top. I just don't think a lot of them fit. I know there are people pushing for Pascal back when that was like a pipe dream. I still never even liked that because of I just didn't necessarily fully like his fit with the team. I think the Pistons should the names we talked about earlier. Lauri Markkanen would be one. Mikal Bridges would be two for me. Those would be two of the top targets I'm circling and I'm calling about, and I'm seeing if I can get them, because those are guys that if my pick is valuable to them, then I will take them. And Brandon Ingram's another one. Brandon Ingram is another pipe dream for me. Like those kind of guys would be awesome. Any one of those three, if you get them via trade, I've even kind of had a little bit of a radical approach to this offseason in the sense of I would be comfortable, and obviously New York's got to agree to reducing protections and all of that, so you could trade more picks. But I would be okay with trading more picks in the future because I know that sounds crazy when you're a 10 to 15 win team, but I'm actually kind of good with trading future picks because, like, if you look at your core and you really do believe in Ivy, Cade, Asar, and Duran either working together or all being good enough prospects to where you can trade them for a really good haul. So you're kind of in a situation where, Cade's going to be Cade's on this team for at least another probably like four or 5 years. Because of the extension, he's going to be a restricted free agent. They're going to give him the money. He's probably just going to sign that max offer, and that'll be that. Like, I'm okay with trading some future first, which is crazy because this team is terrible, and this regime and this front office has been totally inept and ran things terribly. But I actually kind of like the idea, so I'm open to going the trade route more so than free agent because I just don't like it. Free agent, I think you can pick up some guys like Kelly Oubre that will just be good role players to, supplement like you did at the deadline, getting Fontecchio, like those type of additions. I think you can get those in free agency, but I think you can get a big fish this offseason, and I would do that. I know that's a little radical, but I got these young guys locked up under control. Ivy, Duran, Asar, it's all going to be the same. They're all rookie. They're all restricted free agents when their rookie contract's up. So you have a lot of core pieces going forward for many years. So I would do the Cleveland route. We saw Cleveland do it with Donovan Mitchell. It looked dicey, but it did look dicey a couple months ago. But I would do that kind of move if it's out there for the Pistons personally.
So the 7 Miles B's question, what free agent targets? So I'm looking at some free agents right now, and one guy that I'm looking at, and it's at the shooting guard position, which I think that whether or not you think that the Pistons have enough guards, every time I watch him, he's a bucket getter, and that's Malik Monk.
Yeah.
If I'm the Pistons, I'm really considering Malik Monk. And I know he's probably not like the sexiest name out there in terms of free agents because people will look at the Pascals, to look at the OG Anunobis, Tobias Harris, even Miles Bridges to an extent. I think Malik Monk would be a hell of a fit. I think a player like Buddy Hield would be intriguing to me just for the 3-point, just a barrage of 3-pointers that I know he can hit night in and night out. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA. And then I look at guys like I know Organic Lindo had mentioned. Nick Claxton is a very sneaky good player. And I know he's a center, but I mean, if you want to get better defensively, I mean, do you look to bring in a Nick Claxton? I don't know if the Pistons will. I think it'll be one of those guys that may cost you a lot because he's a very good player, and he's probably going to be very targeted by a lot of players in this free agency class. When I was talking with Corey Woods a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned DeMar DeRozan, who, he's a little bit older, but he had mentioned, like, I mean, when he was in San Antonio, he kind of took on that, that veteran leadership role and was more of a, primary playmaker. I think DeMar would be intriguing just from the standpoint is he's had previous relationships with Coach Casey. I think there's a pretty decent amount of free agents that you could target that aren't big names. I know you had mentioned Kelly Oubre. I think for trades, I've mentioned it before. I think Andrew Wiggins is a guy that to keep an eye on. I know it's not a sexy name. I know it's not a name that a lot of Pistons fans would probably want, but he's under contract. Good defender, can get buckets. I just don't really think there's a whole lot of names out there that will really excite Pistons fans from a trade perspective, because I know they want the sexy names like Lauri Markkanen. They want Brandon Ingram. They want like the Zach LaVines. I just think when you get into those conversations, then you start getting into multiple draft picks. You get into splitting up your core. And I just don't know if the organization is really ready to split up the core just yet.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. The Malik Monk one, I like him, but do you think that in a sense that then kind of reduces the opportunity for growth of Marcus Sasser? And not that you should be operating under the guise of like, how do we build around Marcus Sasser by any means, but I just like he's shown to be I think he's going to be a very valuable role player and probably even a starter level player on some team someday. So I would be kind of cautious of getting a guy like Malik, although I'm with you, like Malik Monk is awesome. I'd love to have him in this locker room and on this team right now. But I would wonder, like, would you be able to play that kind of backcourt and be happy with the results? Because as we know, Monty doesn't stagger.
Yeah, and then you have to consider Quentin Grimes too.
Yeah,
who hasn't played.
I'm all in on Grimes.
Yeah, but like this injury stuff is really starting to worry me. He played one game and then he's been out again.
I know,
but I know people have their questions about that. Like, is his knees just shot, or does he need surgery? Yeah. I think to answer your question about Sasser, if you were to get Monk, I think that just reading the quotes of Monty Williams, I don't think Monty believes that Marcus Sasser is ready to play in the NBA. Like every quote I see from him, he's like, we're just not ready to put him out there yet. We don't think he's ready. We don't think he's ready to contribute, which I disagree with. Yeah. And it kind of like makes me wonder, like, why would you draft him in the first place if you didn't think that there was a path for him to get playing time or get minutes, or you didn't think he was ready? That's the only reason why I mentioned Malik Monk, because I think if you brought in even like a guy like Buddy Hield, Malik Monk, one of those guys, they could contribute. They could just plug and play into a Monty Williams system right away. Where Sasser, I don't think Monty fully trusts him to make the right decisions or the right plays, and I don't think he has gained Monty's trust yet. And I don't know how much longer it's going to take for a guy like Sasser to crack consistent minutes. That's the only reason why I mentioned another guard, and I know some people probably didn't want to hear that answer. It's just reading quotes from Monty, they just kind of feel like this kid's talented, he's young, but we just don't feel like he's ready to contribute night in and night out right now.
Yeah, someone said the hell with Sasser if you can get Monk, and I feel that, but I say the same thing. To hell with to hell with roster building if it's Monty's input. Like I'm so frustrated with that guy. But he is gonna probably be the coach next year.
Yeah, I mean, like you watch Malik Monk, like Sacramento, like we all know, Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox are the stars of that team. But the one high level role player that can get them 30 on a given night is Malik Monk. Not to mention that guy has got some insane hops. Like he's thrown down some nasty posters this year. I just think if you were to bring him in, whether you want to start him, whether you want to have him off the bench, I think that would just be like a really good fit for this team right now. Is just a high energy guard that can fill it up at any given time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like I said, the player of him, and again, you shouldn't be building around Sasser by any means. I do wonder if you can, not that they're obviously with all their cap space, they don't really got to worry about it, but the value of $1. Like I think Marcus Sasser can turn into not being Malik Monk, but I think he can value wise versus what Malik Monk may cost you. There may be there may be a little bit of a value play there. I love Sasser, and I am pretty high on him. I think that his 3-point shooting is awesome. So I would love to find ways to get him on the court. And if Monty just doesn't trust him, then I would tell Monty to just trust him. Like he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Just trust the guy. He's gonna play through his mistakes. I know you didn't want to trust Ivy. You had to trust Cade, but you didn't want to trust Ivy. You don't want to trust Sasser. You didn't want to trust Asar at times. I get it. But
yeah,
trust him, man. What do you got to lose, man? You literally can't do a worse job than you're doing. I genuinely think that's impossible.